That would be me.
Look who we're hanging with.
Jason David Frank.
Boom shakalaka.
Please do not change channel.
Welcome to the Hangin' With Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter.
I'm Christian Basil, guys.
And we are here at MegaCon 2018. Amazing. What a good time so far.
A lot of stuff going
Day
on.
one.
Great show, great show.
Great show so far. We're here right now. We're going to be hanging with artists, authors, filmmakers, musicians, creators of all kinds all weekend. And right now, we're hanging with Illustrator Erik Hodson. Erik, thanks for hanging with us, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming over.
Happy to be here. You had a fight with somebody?
No, this is
Excited fan.
This is a compression sleeve for when I'm drawing, so I don't get so achy.
Makes sense. Makes sense. You're drawing over there at the table?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
You could have lied. You could have told us you beat up somebody on the way here.
Thanos.
The parking was
He took
terrible.
out Thanos. He won, as far as you know. Erik, let's talk about your art a little bit.
Well, one of the things I'm most known for is my wrestling art.
Okay.
So that's what I do is I take classic comic books and those covers, like Hulk 181, for example. And I'll put Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant in there instead of what's there before.
To mash up a classic comic piece of art with contemporary wrestling figures, and that's pretty cool, man. What inspired you to want to do that?
You know, it's just something that hadn't been done before. I was always a wrestling fan, always a comic book fan, and I always kind of looked at wrestling as live-action comic books when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well,
So
they're
I thought, well,
story-driven. They really are.
You know, why shouldn't wrestling be represented in that way?
Absolutely.
So I figured I'd give it a shot and did a spoof off of Amazing Spider-Man 129, which is the first appearance of the Punisher, and put Bret the Hitman Hart in there, taking on Vince McMahon. So
wow.
And it just spurred from there, and
wow.
fans from there.
What are fans saying when they come to the table and they see the art that you got out there?
They're usually just like a gasp because most people haven't seen it yet because it's still getting out there. But
when did you start working with this particular subject?
About 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago?
Yeah. And it's just grown since then.
Now, do you have a favorite wrestler out there?
Gosh, well, the WWE and the women's division, I love Charlotte and Bayley. I like watching those two. I grew up a Bret Hitman Hart fan. He was my wrestling guy when I was a kid. Of course, went through Hulkamania, the Ultimate Warrior, the old guys like that.
Yeah.
Big fan of Finn Balor now. You know, I think he's got a really great gimmick.
Awesome.
And then in the New Japan and the ROH side, the Young Bucks, you know, that kind of the Bullet Club. That's really.
Wow.
That's really where it's at.
So now you mash up the wrestling characters, and you mash them up with classic comic book covers and things like that. Any newer work that's out there right now that's inspired you that you can't wait to do a cover of?
Well, right now I'm working on one where it's based off of the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 12 match between Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. And I'm doing a spoof off of the Superman Muhammad Ali cover.
Oh, wow.
And in the background, since there's all these different people in the background in the original cover, they put celebrities in there. I'm putting some of my Patreon subscribers, I'm putting other wrestlers in there, superheroes, just a little menage. It'll be like a Where's Waldo type thing.
That's kind of cool. So find yourself or, whatever. And we're going to make sure that we put Erik's Patreon and other social media down in the description so that y'all know where to find him so you can get involved in that process.
Now, what's your passion for wrestling? Why do you like it so much? What's that?
I mean, it's just live action comic books, you know.
All right.
You know, it's like it's drama for dudes.
It is. It's very
everybody
dramatic.
loves it now.
It's very dramatic. It's very athletic.
Yeah.
It's sort of like you said. Until recent years, it was sort of the only place you could get this fantasy colliding, sort of athleticism and a little bit of violence with a driven story. And of course now in our era, we've got Marvel and we've got all the they put superhero movies out now, right?
Oh, yeah,
but you know, people forget, I think, that until a decade ago,
we didn't have anything.
we didn't have any of that. So this is where we had to go if we wanted to see that kind of a matchup kind of thing. And those wrestlers became the superheroes of the athletic world. What kind of media do you work in? Do you like traditional pencil, digital art? What kind of medium do you work in?
I do a lot of digital stuff. I have a condition known as scleroderma, which is why my hands are all crumpled up like this.
Okay.
And changing and just starting with I was a very early adopter of Wacom and pens and digital stylus.
Yeah.
Because it really afforded me the ability to do my artwork again with
without full dexterity.
Without full dexterity, without a lot of the pitfalls that come with natural media.
Let's talk about that. Was it difficult for you as an artist to get started lacking that dexterity?
Well, I started before it happened.
Oh, okay.
So So once it solidified and it got to this point, I had to retrain myself how to do everything. With all my limited mobility.
It's gotta be frustrating to have your eyes say one thing and your hands say another.
Yeah.
When you're an artist already and you've already trained yourself in that medium.
And I love doing commissions. I love drawing at the table, but it just doesn't look as good because my hands got a little bit of a shake to it whenever I'm working. And so by doing it digitally, I can get that nice, clean, professional look that I really want to be able to do
Take
again.
the extra time to delete here and add here.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's a great use of technology to take your passion and continue forward.
Yep.
That's fantastic. If you don't mind me, I was asking how it just sort of happened?
You know, there's a mystery to it. Yeah. Sure. Some of the research points to where there's a genetic component, and then you have like an environmental trigger that causes a gene to turn on and start messing with your immune system and whatnot. But it's so hard to diagnose. It looks like lupus. It can look like Lyme disease. A whole bunch of other things.
I'll tell you what, man. Thank you for continuing to do what you do because it takes perspiration and to be an artist anyway. It's a lot of hard work for very little reward early on.
Yep.
You work for your passion. And to be faced with, hey, you're not going to be able to do it the way you did it, and to overcome that and be able to find a new medium where you can do it just as well, that's fantastic. We applaud you, really, we do. But beyond that, let's talk about what you got here. What are we looking at?
This is what I'm really, really excited about because this is my own IP. This is Dinosaur Man.
Dinosaur Man.
Yeah, I wanted to show you guys on Webtoon, which is a website for comics.
Well, we're going to make them stalk you online and find it, so we'll spin it up here.
Sounds good.
You got it?
Basically, what happens is on Webtoon, you scroll up on your phone or device, and it's like a long comic. That's how it's all laid out. So I hand these out, these little preview cards, to give people an idea. And it gives them instructions on how to download it.
This is Dinosaur Man Comics. Is it the beginning of the series, or is
the beginning of the series is on Webtoon, and I make these little cards as little samples.
Nice.
But basically, it's a throwback to everything that I grew up with as a kid, all the '80s stuff like He-Man, Transformers.
Yeah, you can see the inspiration.
Yeah, a lot of inspiration from my childhood playing with toys, and I really, there's a lot of controversy in comics nowadays. And I really just want to get to just telling good stories, something fun, exactly. Something that could be an action figure or a cartoon, just something to enjoy for enjoyment's sake.
As comic culture has proliferated from being it was once thought a childhood culture and then a subculture, and now we're pop culture.
Yeah.
As that audience has grown, so has the age, and so a lot of the stories have become darker. They become more adult-driven. So I think there's kind of a lack there of the stuff we saw when we were kids. The kids that were designed for us.
They get left out, or like nowadays with the latest controversy that was the Thundercats Roar, where everything is just dumbed down for the kids so much that it doesn't help them grow. Exactly. Yeah. Like when you and I were a kid, G.I. Joe taught us lessons, life lessons.
When my kids,
knowing is half the battle.
When my kids were young, I can remember them coming home with new words in their lexicon and new terms to learn because of their cartoons, because of their anime, because of their comic books.
Right.
They would come home with entirely new vocabularies to learn from. So the idea of dumbing it down for them, well,
Yeah.
I like the idea that I heard stuff come out of my 9-year-old's mouth, and I thought, wow, where did you find that word? I like that.
Right.
I'm a word guy, and I didn't think of it. So
Yeah.
that's
And I
fantastic.
think that's why, if you look at the statistics, anime has gotten really big here in the United States. It is overshadowing what we're trying to do here as the U.S. media, because there are compelling stories, because there are things that make you think, teach life lessons. That's where that's happening, and so the audience is just naturally drifting towards there. So I take some influence from that as well in my writing for this.
Well,
That's
this
fantastic.
is the gateway for kids to read, because if would you rather read this or just a bunch of lines in there?
Yeah.
You kind of see a visual and you have a little more fun with this than just
I
straight
think
out
we're
text.
going to talk more on the show later on, actually, about comics and the fact that they are a gateway for reading today. And we have some guests that are coming on over the weekend to talk about comics in the classroom and how important it is to, if you want kids to read early, give them something they want to read early.
Here's the gateway drug.
That's right.
Comics.
Exactly.
The,
But you know what? And to that point, it really puts onus on the comic creators, the companies, and the individuals telling the story. What kind of content are you putting in there? Do you just have an agenda that you want to put forward?
Right.
Or is your agenda, your audience learning and growing, or telling them engaging stories, keeping them entertained? Are they your priority, or is you your
We
priority?
talk with our artists all the time about this. If your marketing plan is designed around your readers and your viewers and your customers,
Yeah.
you will eventually do better, but it'll be a longer haul.
Yeah.
If your marketing plan is designed to sell, you might do better tomorrow with that aggressive thing. But over time, you're losing those younger readers. You're losing the people who really like to see a good story. So it really has to be a sense of balance.
Yeah.
If you don't have that,
And in these modern times, like when we were little, we couldn't just tweet Todd McFarlane and say, hey, I love what you did in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we can do that with creators. And so they need to be we need to be mindful as creators how we're engaging with our audience in these platforms, to serve them, because they are your customer. They're going to pay your bills, and you're providing something for them.
and they're
So
going to be
you want
yours
them
for a
love
long time to come if
You take care of
you
them.
deliver that
Yeah.
by that property.
And they want to be vested into something because
Exactly.
they want. There's a difference between Small World and Space Mountain.
Yeah.
What kind of ride are you going on, and how you're going to feel at the end of that
the
ride?
emotional investment that we have. I mean, at our core, whether it's comic books or novels or movies or television, at our core, we're storytellers. And a human being loves a good yarn. And we start when we're this tall.
Yep,
We love a
absolutely.
give us a good yarn, invest us in it emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
We'll come back over and over and over again. You and I, we've all seen cartoons or movies or whatever. When you compare them to today's equivalent, they're nothing to write home out for production value. They're nothing. However, the story
Yeah.
compelled us so that 30, 40 years later, we still talk about them. We still love them. And when they redo them and they add some high-tech stuff, you're like, wow. Wow, look what they did to my story. It was awesome. They did
exactly,
my story.
exactly.
People on the internet are always talking about how the ownership of things like properties like Star Wars. It's public ownership now. It has touched so many lives that the artist only owns the creation. The audience owns the universe, because that's where we live.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, this is fantastic, man. We can't wait to see more. We're going to drop links down below
Thank
so
you.
that all of your would-be readers and followers and fans, some stalkers, it's okay. It's Dina mostly.
It happens.
Yeah, it
It
happens.
happens.
We're going to wrap it up. As we do, we're going to say thank you to our partners and our friends. She flashes that card at me like I'm supposed to do something with it. Some Unique Magazine, thank you. Famous Faces, Funnies, Krypton Radio, Off the Chain Radio, Space Coast Comics, Silent Convention Entertainment Services. Thank you for what you do. Remember, everybody, subscribe, log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next.